Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jai Om Vishnu Bhat Paramahamsa Parivrajakacarya Ashtotara Shata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Bhat Paramahamsa Parivrajakacarya Ashtotara Shata Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Garanga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, everyone. Reading from Canto 1, Chapter 17, text number 28. Iti dharma mahim chaiva santyayitva maharatha santayitva maharatha nishatam khadgam nishatam khadgam Kalaye dharma hetave iti dharma mahim chaiva santvayitva maharatha nishatam khadgam Kalaye dharma hetave Iti dharma mahim chaiva santvayitva maharatha nishatamad khadgam kalaye dharma hetave Kalaye dharma hetave itim dharmam vahim chaiva santayitva maharatha nishatamad khadgam kalaye dharma hetave itim dharmam vahim chaiva Santvayitva maharatha Nishatam adade khadgam Kalaye dharma hetave. Please repeat word for word. Iti, thus. Dharmam, the personality of religion. Mahim, the earth. Cha, also. eva, as Santvaitva, after pacifying, Maharatha, the general who could fight alone with thousands of enemies, Nishatam, sharp, Adade, took up, Khadgam, sword, Kalaye, to kill the personified Kali, Andharma, irreligion, Hetve, the root cause. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Maharaj Parikshit, who could fight 1,000 enemies single-handedly, thus pacified the personality of religion and the earth. Then he took up his sharp sword to kill the personality of Kali, who is the cause of all irreligion. Purport. As described above, the personality of Kali is he who deliberately commits all kinds of sinful acts which are forbidden in the revealed scriptures. This age of Kali will certainly be full of all activities of Kali. But this does not mean that the leaders of society, the executive heads, the learned and intelligent men, or above all, the devotees of the Lord, should sit down tightly and become callous to the reactions of the age of Kali. In the rainy season, certainly there will be profuse rainfalls, but that does not mean that men should not take means to protect themselves from the rains. It is the duty of the executive heads of state and others to take all necessary actions against the activities of Kali or the persons influenced by the age of Kali. And Maharaj Parikshit is the ideal executive head of the state, for at once he was ready to kill the personality of Kali with his sharp sword. The administrators should not simply pass resolutions for anti-corruptional steps, but they must be ready with sharp swords to kill the persons creating corruption from the angle of vision of the recognized Shastras. The administrators cannot prevent corrupt activities by allowing wine shops. They must at once close all shops of intoxicating drugs and wine and force punishment even by death for those who indulge in habits of intoxication of all description. That is the way of stopping the activities of Kali, as exhibited herein by Maharaj Parikshit, the Maharatha. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurvei Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you everyone for coming. We started off with 5 people, now we only have 3. So, all right, so it's a very nice purport, very beautifully described text by Prabhupada. So, as we all know that Maharaj Parikshit has been seeing all this and he has now decided to take out his sharp sword and destroy this Kali personified. Because, you know, Kali is the very not so helpful when you're trying to make spiritual advancement, you know. Kali always comes in the way of our spiritual growth. As we can see in today's time, we live in the age of quarrel, the age of Kali, where everything is opposite of the Vedic or the Shastric version, you know. My Guru Maharaj says, you take the Shastra, you flip it around, that's what you get today. So this is what we live in, you know. Anything that is right or that is responsible or that is authentic or authorized is gone. Now all we have is alcohol, drugs, that's our new Shastra. you know. That's the Shastra of Kali, you know. If someone you see taking alcohol or intoxication, that person is very highly recognized. Yeah, you can see examples of these famous people, you know, like so many famous people. Like for example, when I was growing up, you know, in the age of Kali, I was influenced by people who would like be very highly like taking all these things, you know, and all these intoxicating things. And they would be like highly qualified to speak, you know. They will have like people they can look up to, or they'll have people like millions of followers, you know. That's pretty crazy. That's age of Kali. So recently I was speaking to this guy on book distribution, and he was saying that I want to become famous. I want to be like famous, and I have like 10,000 followers, 10 million followers and all that stuff I want. I'm like, but what are you going to do with it? You know, when you get it, people who have got it are actually killing themselves. So, you know, what's the point? What's the main objective? He's like, yeah, no, you're right. I understand what you're saying. But again, I want to be famous, but I want to do it for the right thing. I'm like, do you know what is the right thing? He's like, what is the right thing? You know, and he said, then I told him that first thing you need to do is elevate your own consciousness, because unless you have a lower consciousness, you cannot affect lives of other people. You'll just, you know, bring them down as well, rather than making them advance in spiritual life. So, age of Kali is very disturbing. If someone is trying to practice very sincerely, it becomes very easy. If you are sincere, if you really want something, you know. There's a saying in the karmi world that if you something desire very sincerely, the whole world will come together for you to follow it, or something like that, you know. So if you sincerely desire to be Krishna conscious, then you will be Krishna conscious. But again, you need to know, you need to use your intelligence. We need to know, and we need to use our intelligence so that we can come to the right thing, you know. Prabhupada says there's so many cheaters out there, you know. There's so many gurus that will just cheat you and take advantage. But a person who's only trying to get cheated will only look for cheaters, you know. If you want to get cheaters, then you will find cheaters. So one should not get cheated. One should look for the most authentic and the most authentic version, you know. Like Prabhupada says that. Prabhupada says if you want something like, Prabhupada never said anything concoctedly. Prabhupada never stated any single thing made from his own will, you know. It was all in the Shastric reference. Even if we speak to someone who doesn't even know Sanskrit or doesn't even know shlokas or anything, he'll still quote shlokas, you know, from the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. Tell them, this is the sign that we are quoting from the Shastras. In everything we do is supposed to be from the Shastras. So there's there's 3 points actually that stood out in this text that Prabhupada is mentioning. The first is a very, very, very important one for all of us to remember that. So he says that the learned and intelligent men, or above all the devotees of the Lord, should sit down tightly and become callous of the reactions of the age of Kali. We should not do that, you know. We should not just sit down and just, you know, let Kali happen, because you know Kali is here, will be here. Even Maharaj Parikshit knew that Kali is going to come, you know. And he could see the Kali coming, but he did not just like sit there and let Kali do his thing. That will be a bad ruler. That will be a bad emperor. So we should also learn from that. We should realize that Kali is out there, you know. As soon as you walk out of this temple room, you can see the effects of Kali, you know. Sometimes I'm sitting in my room and I can still feel Kali, you know. Has it ever happened to anyone, or is it just me, you know? Because our minds are Kali minds. That's what I call it, the Kali mind, you know. This is the Kali mind. So we're so influenced and so disturbed in our mind by these Kali Yuga activities that everything that we do or everything that we think, all our desires are just Kali Yuga desires, you know. Well, once out of blue moon, I'll desire to be Krishna conscious, yeah. But usually it's all about Kali Yuga activities going in my head, you know. So it's very important to realize that the Kali Yuga is there, you know. There's no escaping it. But that does not mean that one should not fight it. One should be very determined and very enthusiastic to fight it. I remember yesterday I went on book distribution. So the best thing to fight Kali Yuga is book distribution. People who go on book distribution know that. It's not just purifying for yourself. You can help other people get purified as well. But we should do it for the right intentions. Navina Nirada, the greatest book distributor in the world, he says that people will only take books if they see you're sincere to offer them something that they don't have. Something very beautiful, This book right there that you're giving them and the face you have should match, you should not just pretend to know these books. You should not lie to them, because when they read, they will just lose interest in Krishna straight away. So you should be very sincere of giving the right version to the right people. That's very important. So I was on book distribution yesterday. Well, what was I saying about that? So I was on book distribution yesterday, and I could feel it, Kali Yuga was very strong. Anyone been to Bondi? Yeah, Kali is like highly over there, especially in the summertime. It's very disturbing for the mind, all the beaches and all that stuff. So people are just in that tipsy and just, chilling mood, so sometimes it's very difficult to be in a situation like that. You just get distracted from the goal that you've been going out on book distribution for. So sometimes it's very difficult. Like yesterday was a bit difficult for me in the beginning, and I was a bit getting distracted. But then I decided, okay, what is the solution? I'm getting a little distracted, and I know it. That's the first level of self-realization, right? I can feel it. I'm getting distracted from my own goal. What should I do? Should be the thing to bring me back? So I sat down for a few minutes and I started reading Bhagavad Gita. That automatically Prabhupada's purports are designed in such a way that they will bring you back to Krishna consciousness, if you're getting distracted. And after that, I went on doing my thing, and it worked pretty well. I was very focused. I was focused on the goal. I was giving out books, stopping people, speaking to them. No mundane talks, So this is what we should do, Every time we think that we are struggling, or every time we think that something is not going right, in our mind, and we are losing it, that's when we should take the shelter of the Shastra and the Guru. Because that's where all the wisdom will come, inside your head, That's where all the guidance is. Because it's very important to take guidance, We cannot succeed in anything. What to speak about spiritual life, not even in material life, You can succeed without guidance, They always say that you need mentors, you need people looking up to you, you need idols to look up to, and all these things. Even in spiritual karmi world, we need all that. So what about the spiritual world? So it's very important to take the guidance from the Shastra and the Guru. That's why we have Prabhupada has established this beautiful society where there are people who will always be more senior to you, and there'll be people more junior to you, You can always find that. So we should know how to deal with that, We should not just get puffed up and just do things based on what we like. Because we should remember, this is not my ISKCON. This is Prabhupada's ISKCON. And we should do whatever pleases to Prabhupada, because whatever pleases to the Guru or the Jagat Guru will automatically please Krishna. And we should remember that. So we should not concoct things based on our own minds and mentality, We should do whatever is pleasing to the Guru. And just giving an example or speaking to the Guru, pleasing to the Guru. Prabhupada is the supreme example, who's the most pleasing to the Guru, Like no one has ever pleased in such a way that Prabhupada has done, 70-year-old man, just goes to the West with a single-handed mission, no other things in his head, that's the only thing I have, is to give Krishna consciousness to the West. Why would he do that? Why would Prabhupada want to leave Vrindavan, And people are just going to Vrindavan now, and Prabhupada left Vrindavan at the same time, Like if you ask a 70-year-old person who's going to Vrindavan, he'll just say, I want to be Krishna conscious in the last few years that I have left, Just be as soaked in as possible so I can go back home, back to God. Prabhupada left, he went the other way, He left and went to the most Kali Yuga place, New York, Has anyone ever been to New York? Yeah, you know what Kali Yuga is in New York, it's like very, very dangerous situation for a spiritual person to be in. But Prabhupada did not give up. Prabhupada had faith in Krishna. He had single-handedly, he developed something that all of us combined cannot do, He did it single-handedly because he wasn't alone. Krishna was there right with him, Krishna was like his chariot driver. He was taking him wherever Prabhupada should have been at that time, But Prabhupada was always at the right place at the right time, We can see that if we read Prabhupada Lilamrita, everything was happening at the very right time. Things he was getting, things he was doing, everything at the right time. And he was also meeting the right people at the right time. Like, when Prabhupada has his early disciples, Prabhupada just told them, even the ladies, go, pick a country and go, preach, Don't just sit there. Don't become callous, But Prabhupada also says that a devotee should always live in the farm, That's when you should not live in the cities. It's very dangerous. But only if you're preaching, you should live in the cities. Yeah, because that's very important, because that's where all the people are. You can't find people. You're not going to preach to the cows, in the farms. So you got to be in the cities to find people. So it's important to remember that our society is a preaching movement. It's a preaching movement, yeah. We need to go out and preach as much as we can. So whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you do, you carry books, right? Or you preach. That's because books are the main preaching, right? Whatever books we have is the source, is the foundation of our whole Krishna consciousness movement. Prabhupada says, what can you really preach in 2 minutes? If you meet a person, what can you say in 2 minutes that will make him Krishna consciousness? But if he gets a book, if he takes a book, if he just reads even one page, he will become Krishna conscious. So we should remember that Prabhupada is very pleased. The service of book distribution is very dear to Prabhupada. And we have some of good book distributors sitting right here. And it's good to speak to book distributors sometimes, So thank you for coming. And all those people watching on the worldwide net. So please go on books. That's a pleasing service to Prabhupada, and we all should do that. So that's a beautiful point that Prabhupada's mentioning about not just sitting ideally in the temple and just doing we should go out, just do preaching. Preaching is the foundation, right? Because one day what will happen if you just stay in the temple? You'll stop making devotees, and then you'll have to shut down ISKCON. So we don't want that, right? We want people going out and making more devotees and saving lives, basically. I mean, this is very important because we all probably have met devotees. That's how we came to Krishna consciousness, right? That's how we met, because we must have met devotees in the streets, or we must have met devotees in the temple. And they preached to us, They told us what Krishna consciousness is. And first thing that we look is that whatever he's saying, is it just a theoretical thing? Or he's actually even following it, That was my first major concern. When I met devotees and they would say these beautiful things, and I was like, oh, come on, that's not even true, You can't do that in today's time. It's very difficult. And they say it is difficult, but it's also, if you know the way, it's practical, So, and I would spend time with the devotees, and then I would see that they're actually following right whatever there is, And that's why I can see the change in them. And I can see these people are different, They're not like living the normal mundane lifestyle that we all in the karmi world are living. So that's very important that we should preach, and we should not just preach to others, we should also preach to ourselves. Because be the change you want to see in the world. Who said that? Mahatma Gandhi. Or did he? All right. So be the change you want to see in the world. So that's very important, and we should remember to be the change we want to see in the people. The way this world is going, it's very crazy, The lifestyle that people live today is very, very dangerous. It's very chaotic. And Krishna consciousness is there to save people, Prabhupada says that one day this world will look back and they will say that Krishna consciousness saved the world. you know. And if you really want to say, Krishna consciousness is the new superhero, you know, it's the new Superman. So Krishna is the supreme hero, you know, he's going to save lives, and that's what he do. So we should remember that. We should help people take up to Krishna consciousness so they can be saved. And there's this another beautiful point that I was reading that says that, where did it go? Right. Oh, yeah, so there it is. It says, Maharaj Parikshit is the ideal executive head of the state, for at once he was ready to kill the personality of Kali with a sharp sword, you know. So I was thinking, I was meditating upon this, like, then this thought come to my head, which says, what is the sharp sword that we all carry with us, you know, ready to cut everything that's in the way? And that's our tongue, right? That's the sharpest sword, you know. There's like an ancient saying that the wounds can be healed, but the wound in the heart is very difficult to heal. And the tongue is the sharpest sword, you know. The damage the tongue can do, no other original metal sword can do, you know. And because tongue is the most dangerous of all to control. And we remember, we know the instances from the Shastra as well, like this, the story of Daksha and the Shiva, where Daksha was so mentally, you know, envious that he did not think anything what to say, and he just spoke. He wasn't sure what's coming out of his mouth, but it was just flowing, you know. It was flowing bad things about Lord Shiva, who's the purest devotee of the Lord, you know. And sometimes, has anyone ever felt in that situation before, or is it just me? When we are not thinking and the words just started to flow from our mouth, you know. And then we're not very sure what are we saying. And we're not really thinking that it's how harmful it is for someone else or for our own spiritual practice, you know. So we should remember that we should only control, we should only speak what's favorable for others' advancement and our advancement. We should not just say things that will disrespect or hurt other person's emotions or feelings. You know, you don't want to do that either. But again, you need to use your intelligence. You don't want to be too quiet that you see the wrong things happening and you don't raise your voice. You don't want to be like that either. So that's what Prabhupada is giving the example of Maharaj Parikshit. He knows when to use the sword, right? He just doesn't like go just killing anyone. He knows who's the person to kill, like the Kali, you know, the Kali personified, that's the person who needs to be killed, because that is changing the culture. That is changing the right spiritual atmosphere of the world, and that needs to be destroyed. That's why he takes out his sword and decides to kill. And that's what we should do. Prabhupada has given us a beautiful thing that we should use, you know, that can sharpen our swords with Harinam every single day, you know. We should do that. When we sharpen our swords with Harinam, the swords will automatically go kill the thing that needs to be destroyed, you know. But are we sharpening our swords with the right thing? Are we sharpening our swords with the Harinam Maha Mantra that Prabhupada has given us? Yeah. Let's just chant once again to sharpen the swords. All right? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you for sharpening your swords. So just remember that it is very important to do the right sadhana. Because unless you do your sadhana, things will become very difficult. The service that we do will become a burden, actually. That's what I heard. One of my mentors was saying that the only reason when the service, devotional service, becomes to feel like a burden on devotee is because of lack of right sadhana. They're not doing the proper sadhana. So unless you're doing the sadhana, devotional service will become very difficult. It will become just a mundane thing to do, you know. So you should be very careful and remember that our sadhana should be very strong, you know. There was an instance where, I think you said that yesterday or day before when you were giving class. There was an instance when Prabhupada told, there was like, people were not skipping their chanting and giving up all that, and they were printing books and they were very engaged. So Prabhupada said, shut down the books. I don't want no printing press. No more printing. If people are giving up their sadhana to do printing, I don't want printing. No printing. And we all know how dear that time, printing was to Prabhupada. That was like his life and soul. So Prabhupada said, shut down the printing press. If devotees are skipping their chanting and their reading and all that, their sadhana, then we don't need printing, no printing. So we should remember that. This is a very good example of how Prabhupada says the health is the most important, then comes sadhana, then comes service, then comes book distribution. Book reading the books. But reading books in today's time, I think should be right up there, because unless you're reading, it's very difficult. But again, chanting is the most important, and then comes reading. So the goal of a devotee, or especially a book distributor, should be to read at least 2 hours a day, minimum, But sometimes it's difficult, especially when you're in a grihastha life or some other engaged activities. Even in brahmacharis, I've seen brahmacharis struggle to find time to read books, So we should remember that these books are the life and soul. And when we are reading these books, we are getting the perfect knowledge coming from the perfect source. And when you have the right knowledge, things become easy. If I tell you something, you will question me. Why are you saying that? Why should I be listening to you? That's natural to question anything. That's why we read these books, because they're not just anything. They're very special, because they're coming from the most authentic source, Krishna. And we should remember that. And there's another beautiful point that I thought is very interesting to discuss, is that the administrators cannot prevent corrupt activities by allowing wine shops. They should at once close all the shops of intoxicating drugs and wine, and force punishment even by death for those who indulge in habits of intoxication of all description. Yeah. So are we closing the wine shops in today? Do we see people closing wine shops? Or they're opening more wine shops? If you've ever been to New Zealand, I don't know about Australia, I haven't traveled a lot, but in New Zealand, there's like one end of CBD, until the end of the CBD, there'll only be wine shops. There'll only be bars, and there'll be like pubs and bottle stops, and that's all there is. Like from one end till the other, that's all you can see. And it's pretty mind-boggling, Instead of closing the wine shops, they're actually closing the temples over there in the churches, Wherever you can find God consciousness, they're just shutting it down because there's no one interested, And that's what I said, like you take the Shastra, flip it around, and that's what you get today. So that's what we can see. And that's what it says, that a leader of a good country, or a leader of a state, or or leader of a company, anything, should be very qualified. Should not just be any random person taking that role or responsibility like today. Anyone who knows how to trick people is qualified to become a leader for some reason, And that is the sign of a degraded society. When you have people with no experience or no knowledge for others, they said we all want to do for our own sense gratification, People coming from these low quality backgrounds, they just become a devotee with low consciousness, How can you save the world when your own consciousness is so poor, When you're dealing with your own mental anxieties, how can you help the world take away anxieties? It's not going to work, And Prabhupada used to say this beautiful thing, that he was speaking in a discussion with some social worker or something, welfare worker or something, and he was saying that, like Prabhupada was saying that these rascals have chosen another rascal leader to lead them, Like this is how the society is currently working. People with low consciousness are choosing the best person with the lowest consciousness, and that becomes the leader, Imagine 10 people, and one of them has got the lowest consciousness, and he's the most qualified to become our leader. That's how the current society is. So we should remember, that's what Prabhupada is saying, that an administrator or a good leader will shut down things that is harmful for people, We all know that taking drugs or intoxication is very harmful for your own body and your soul. It just brings you down, And instead of closing it, people are opening it even more, Instead of one shop, now there is 200 shops. So it's just going mental, The whole world is running in a mental way. So an intelligent person would not do that. A good leader would not do that. If Prabhupada would see his devotees or his disciples doing something illicit, he'll just tell them, he'll just like chastise them very heavily, you should not do that. This will destroy it. If you want to do it, then don't be a part of ISKCON, because we are trying to create something very beautiful. But, he never said that you should not leave ISKCON. He said you should always be in ISKCON. But again, don't come in the way of others' spiritual advancement. That's all. So we should remember that. If we want to do things on our own terms, we should let other people follow properly and not be a disturbance, Sometimes I do things that are not very pleasing to my ashram devotees. And, sometimes I cause disturbance. I'm trying to work on that, to not be too much disturbance to others, If I want something that I'm not very comfortable with following, I should let others follow, and I should try. And the Prabhupada says, whatever you do, just don't leave ISKCON. Because as soon as you left ISKCON, you're gone now. You're fallen back into the trap. And this is the very dangerous thing to be. So even if you are like struggling to walk, still walk in ISKCON. Don't walk outside ISKCON, because that will become very dangerous. And we should all follow that. So that's pretty much all I have to share today. There's still little time on our hands. I was thinking if I can share some pastimes of Prabhupada. Yeah, well, there's another beautiful pastime where we can see the example of surrender to the Guru and the Shastra. Like when Prabhupada had the new disciples, these early disciples, the only thing these early disciples had was faith, complete surrender. A person who's very new, like 10-day-old, he's going on book distribution 11 hours a day without knowing anything about the books, How is that even possible? Only a person who's a Maharat, that's what it says, right? Maharata can do that. And Prabhupada was another Maharata, He's like a very great personality. And he would make people do things that they are not sure what it's about, And we saw the change in people's consciousness instantly. As soon as someone met Prabhupada, we have heard so many stories of his disciples. As soon as they met him, this whole consciousness changed inside, Now all they want to do is forget about everything else and just serve Prabhupada in fulfilling this desire. So there was just another beautiful pastime that I always remember. Like it helps me advance, or it helps me when I'm getting distracted from my own goals of doing my service. So there was a time when Prabhupada was going in a train from somewhere, I can't remember the place, but there was a time when Prabhupada wanted to eat some rice. He would like to take some rice. And he asked Yamuna Mataji, was riding with him, that I would like some rice. And Yamuna Mataji said, okay, Prabhupada, I'll get you some rice. And she's in the train. She doesn't cook in the train, right? She doesn't work in the train. How is she going to get the rice? That's the first thing that came to my head, while I was reading this pastime. I'm like, well, she just said yes to something that she probably can't do, How can she do that? And then she goes around looking for rice, and they told people in the kitchen, in the train, that my spiritual master would like some rice. And I would like to cook some rice. So please give me some space so I can cook some rice. They're like, no, you're not part of the team, you can't work here. Imagine going to another country and say, I would like to do this accounting thing. Or, I would like, because my spiritual master wants it. And they'll like, go, what are you talking about? You're like crazy person? Go away, You're not welcome here. You're not part of the team. Only people who are part of the staff can work here. And like, no, my spiritual master wants it and I want to do it. Like, no, go speak to the manager or something. And she went to the manager, and the manager said, what are you talking about? That's not possible, We don't just let anyone come in our kitchen and start cooking, Well, we are here to cook. If you want rice, we'll give you rice. But again, a good disciple would not do that. That's cheating. So she said that I'll jump out of the train if you don't let me cook rice for my spiritual teacher. And then the managers go, well, this is serious stuff, It's in India, so you can see a white lady, white-bodied lady saying, like, threatening to jump out of the window. Will be like too much drama, too much chaos, and everything will be on there, They'll be like pushed down, what's going on. So he said, okay, cook, take kitchen. So she cleaned first. For a long time, she just tried to clean the pots in the kitchen. So it's good enough for Prabhupada to take stuff from it. So, and she cooked rice, and she made rice, and she brought it to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was so happy, and he was so surprised, like, he's like, very good. How did you do that? There was like a Param Vijayate, the supreme victory. And that's what I love so much about these stories of Prabhupada's early disciple. Because no matter what Prabhupada said, or how difficult, or how impossible the task may seem, but it was done in time and in very proper manner, Whether it's just printing of the books, that was like the biggest task. That was like the task that gave Prabhupada most anxiety. And that was done by the disciples, but only because of one reason, because they were sincere. Very sincerely they wanted to serve the mission and the Guru. Are we that sincere? Sometimes I look myself in the mirror and I ask, is this guy a sincere devotee? Are you becoming a sincere devotee? If the answer is no, then you should not look in the mirror. You should just try to work more and more until you can look yourself in the mirror and be proud that, okay, I'm actually now started to become a little sincere in serving this mission of my Guru. Yeah. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Hare Krishna. Is there any questions, corrections, or comments?
It's interesting. You took up the sharp sport to fill the personality of
Yeah.
If you fall into these verses, we can see that he very well knew who is the cause of all causes.
Yeah.
But still he chose to take out the sword himself.
Yeah.
The devotee is just not going to sit there and just say, oh, anyway, it's all
Yeah, Krishna's arranged, Krishna wants this to happen, that's why it's happening, what can I do, Yeah, thank you for that point, that's a very interesting point. I was thinking about that as well, and that's when I was relating it to in our time now. We don't go automatically killing people, but we do kill by our own words that we choose, or the tongue, That's the biggest destroyer in our today's time. And especially in our movement, sometimes it becomes very dangerous when we have devotees going against each other. And we should not do that. And this is like killing squad to the wrong people. We should instead use Harinam as the power of Sankirtan to help other people. Thank you for raising that. That's a wonderful point. Anything else? Right, Grantraj, Srimad Bhagavatam, Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada, Ki Jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi, Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai.